Danielle, Danielle, at 11 p.m. last night, Danielle realized that her pathway curriculum must be stalking her. While trying to help her mentee, Lupe, fill a last-minute speaking role, and while putting herself through the necessary experience of not practicing a speech, Danielle came up with a topic for this morning. But it quickly became creepy when her speech prompt aligned with what she was going to share. Fellow Toastmasters, you know what that means. Today, Danielle will present her third speech from Pathways, Week 3. Focus on the positive, where the purpose of this project is to practice being aware of your thoughts and feelings, as well as the impact of your responses on others after keeping a daily record of your moods and attitudes for a minimum of 2 weeks. Nothing when you feel positive or negative, your success and efforts, and 3 things you are grateful for. Danielle's speech title is Connecting the Dots, and the speech time is 5 to 7 minutes. Please welcome Danielle.
In a group text with my 2 friends, I suggested, why don't we start sharing 3 things that we're grateful for every day? The one rule is you can't share the obvious, like friends and family. February 10th, I am grateful for the freedom to do what I love, the knowledge to get healthy, a clean house for being the only piece on a Monday. Emoji. February 11th, Toastmasters, the joy of earrings, my teeth. February 13th, hot showers, the trees, massages. February 17th, Davy being okay, my home, my productive Monday. February 20th, my bed, fresh flowers for being the only thing to make me smile today. 3, silence. P.S. I am getting very angry. Where the heck is the sunshine? In these 5 entries, I am able to start connecting the dots. From enlightenment and positive energy to trauma on February 14th, to depression and sadness and anger on February 20th, where this girl was wallowing in her bed underneath this rain cloud, both figuratively and mentally. I will start connecting the dots for you with a story. The first dot is my friend Davy. I met Davy in 2011. My puppy introduced me to Davy. Davy was in his wheelchair going around our apartment complex, where we lived only 3 buildings apart. My puppy ran and jumped up on Davy's lap. I was so mortified because I thought, oh my gosh, my puppy could be hurting him. But Davy seemed so happy, and this brought a smile to his face as Cooper continued to lick his cheeks, and a friendship blossomed. Fast forward over the years, we were able to fundraise $30,000 to get Davy a new handicap-accessible van in 2017 because his van was 21 years old and not able to get him to work and to church safely. At this point, I was becoming more serious with my now husband, and I knew that it was in my plan for us to one day take Davy into our home. When I explained this to JP, I said, this is a deal breaker for me. I want this person to live with me and become a part of my family and a part of my children's family for years to come. Are you okay with that? He said, of course. And that is why I married him. Not really, but that's one reason. On May 1st, 2019, exactly 1 month before we got married, Davey moved into our home. We were able to remodel a handicap-accessible apartment for him, and my goal was that we could transform his life. Instead of being in a dirty apartment with 2 other roommates, he was in a clean, new, nice, single-person, independent apartment where he could now do as he pleased, stay up late, wake up late, and be happy. Dot number 2, Valentine's Day. At 9 p.m., my husband and I were on the 3rd floor of our home watching a movie. My husband started to smell something burning. The first thoughts that go through your head when you live in a house that was built in 1949 is, it's an electrical fire. We start circling through our floors looking for the source. We're checking the thermostat, the heater, the water heater, and the closer that we get to the kitchen where our walls connect with Davey's wall, the stronger the smell came. It smelled like really burnt popcorn. JP opened up our back sliding door, which is on the same wall as Davey's sliding door to his apartment. And he said, Danielle, his worker is there. I'm sure everything is fine. He saw the back of her on the sofa. We went back upstairs and he said, you know, I'm just gonna check my phone and make sure that Davey didn't call us. Sure enough, there was a group text between the 3 of us, and Davey said, hey, are you guys home? My worker isn't answering me, and she left hot dogs boiling on the stove. I have never been downstairs faster than this moment. I flew down 3 flights of stairs, I spit myself out the front door, and I see her car in my driveway. I noticed somebody was sleeping in the car, so my first thought is, this beep, 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 is sleeping in her beeping car while Davey is in his apartment with something left on the stove. So I start banging on the window, and this man, large, 6'4" man, pops up from this reclined driver's seat. I'm like, who the heck are you? And he's looking at me like, who the heck are you? But he's in my driveway at 9:30 on a Friday night on Valentine's Day. And he doesn't seem coherent. And I'm banging, open the window, open the window. And he's taking his time, and he's like disoriented, and his eyes are barely open, and he rolls down the window, and he's like, hey. I'm like, he needs help in there, what are you doing? And he's like, who needs help in there? And I ran down the brick pathway into Davey's apartment where now the fire alarm was sounding. And this woman, his caregiver, is snoring through a fire alarm, through a smoke-filled apartment, which I could not even see the other wall in, through Davey calling on her phone, and through him yelling her name. She's snoring so loud that I had to go past her to look for Davey for many reasons. One, so that I wouldn't kill her, and the other because my first thought when I didn't see him was that I was going to find him dead. So it's already flashing through my head. And I'm by myself, and I find him in the bathroom, and he's attached to the toilet because one of his wheelchairs attaches to the toilet for a suppository, so he has to sit on the toilet for an hour and a half, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings. He had now been on the toilet 40 minutes past when he should have been. And I find him in there, unclothed, on the phone to 911, suffocating. He's unable to even speak to 911 because he cannot breathe. And where the bathroom is positioned, it's directly across from his stove. And so the smoke was going directly into his lungs because the door was open. Dot number 3, the trigger. We get him out of the apartment. We had 12 firefighters, 2 police officers, my husband and I, and we get him out of the apartment. He's still unclothed. It's 40 degrees on a Friday night. How humiliating is that? What it did to me, though, was it sent me in this uproar. I couldn't even stand. I was having this major anxiety attack where I was hanging on to Davey as he's unclothed in 40-degree weather, saying, "I thought I was gonna find you dead," screaming and crying, and my legs came out from underneath me, and the firefighters got a chair so that I could sit down. Davey's calm, my husband's calm, and he's on like Mission Impossible mode, and I am a disaster. Dot number 4. The company that provides this care service for Davey obviously was left in quite a predicament. After working with them for several days and having several meetings and several phone calls, they were trying to do the right thing. The worker was of course fired. We got her CNA license revoked with the state of North Carolina, and they were offering Davey some therapy services to deal and cope with the trauma. And every time that I talked to this man on the phone or saw him in person, I could not contain myself from being emotional. I just could barely get out a single word. So he said, "Danielle, I'm going to extend those counseling services to you." And I said, "Sign me up, because I am struggling. I can't sleep. I'm not functioning. I can barely get myself out of bed." So on February 20th, I went to talk to someone. And I told her the story, and she said, "Danielle, the thing that you're not seeing here may not be obvious to you, but to me it is." She said, "You reported this worker before for sleeping on the job." I said, "Yes, 8 months ago." And she said, "And they didn't believe you." I said, "No, she lied. It was her word against mine." And she said, "Doesn't this sound familiar? You were telling people your story. They weren't listening. They weren't believing you. Isn't this just like your family when you were being abused and you were telling them that you and your siblings were unsafe, and they weren't listening and they weren't believing you? And then because they didn't believe you, you were getting abused more and you came close to dying because they didn't believe you?" February 21st, I am grateful for figuring more out about myself, using my trauma to help others, when people listen and believe my story. Mr. Toastmaster.